So according to the U.S. and Ukraine, their minerals deal is fair for both sides in a way that will supposedly tighten their cooperation and partnership. Will the latest deal also speed up ceasefire negotiations for Russia's war on Ukraine? Let's turn to Professor Andrew Millard for more. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Well, I have to ask, how did the two leaders of the U.S. and Ukraine manage to come to an agreement after their dramatic spat that we all know back in February?
Well, you're correct. Back in February, with this big spat in the Oval Office, it looked like this agreement possibly wasn't going to happen. President Zelensky, he stood his ground, and I think maybe that was a very good move by Zelensky at the time. But we should also remember this agreement, this deal, this is not a brand new one. This is something that Zelensky has been talking about, promoting for the past 6 months or more. So it's definitely been in the works for a long time. The spat in the Oval Office, maybe we could say was a little bump in the road. But in the end, this is a deal that has been in the making for about 6 months. And right now, with the US trade war and Donald Trump maybe sort of isolate China, maybe he's looking to find access to other rare earths in other countries. So this is maybe seen as more of a win-win situation.
So maybe it was going to be a deal that was going to happen eventually, but it did take some time. Right. Now, I know Zelensky said this himself, it's a solid deal for Ukraine, but is it really a deal that works in favor of Ukraine?
Oh, I think definitely this is, for the Ukrainian side, a pretty decent agreement. Obviously, it's not 100% perfect. We saw the Americans saying that at the last minute, Ukraine was still trying to make some small adjustments to the agreement. So there's obviously a few things that they're not fully happy with. However, on the whole, for Ukraine, this is pretty good. As you said in the report there, there's no demand, there's no obligation for Ukraine to repay the military aid they've already received. On the other hand, it does guarantee that the Americans will have some sort of presence in Ukraine long term. And as Donald Trump said, this will keep the bad actors out of the country. He didn't specify who those bad actors were, but we can assume he's talking about Russia. And so with this US sort of guaranteed presence in Ukraine, military or civilian, doesn't matter, this means that the US connection will maintain quite a good relationship with Ukraine going forward.
Well, Professor Millard, you said it, the deal is not 100% perfect, but we do have to talk about the security guarantees that Ukraine has long sought. Why is that not explicitly included in the agreement?
So this one, again, if we go back to what Donald Trump has been saying right from day one, Donald Trump and the American government right now, their policy is that this conflict is not a US conflict. This is a Ukraine-Russia conflict. And Donald Trump, he's been very clear, the US should not be militarily involved. And so it's no surprise that there's no security guarantee from America in this agreement.
So the U.S.'s support, military support for Ukraine will be another topic that we're going to have to go over in the future with you, Professor Millard. What's notable about this statement is that the U.S. officially acknowledged Russia's invasion of Ukraine, something the U.S. had long been reluctant to acknowledge. Why the mention now?
So this one here, it's not entirely, but what I would say is that we have to look here more at the U.S. domestic. So what you'll find is a lot of politics around the world, when it comes to foreign policy, often leaders, if they're having domestic issues, and right now in America, Donald Trump, his approval ratings have gone down quite a bit. The economy, it's not doing that well. So figures are the American economy is going down. He's having immigration issues with deporting those illegal aliens, as he calls them. And so maybe you could argue that right now, Donald Trump and the American government is trying to deflect some of this tension away from domestic issues to an issue where they know if they can have a positive effect and bringing about a possible ceasefire in Ukraine, this will really boost his approval rating.
Well, Professor Millard, then the ultimate question is, will the minerals deal inked between the two sides be any blow to Russia, because Russia hasn't commented on the deal yet, and will the deal speed up ceasefire negotiations?
So in terms of speeding up ceasefire negotiations, this is definitely, it's not going to harm any process there. I don't think it's going to have a huge change in the momentum. For the Russian side, I think they'll probably be a little bit disappointed at this, because if you look back for a couple of months, generally Donald Trump, the US, has sort of favored Russia. So if you remember a couple of months ago in the UN Security Council with that resolution,
right.
Historically, America siding with Russia. So it seemed for the past 2 or 3 months that America, Donald Trump, has been very much more pro-Russia rather than pro-Ukraine. And so with this new agreement being signed, suddenly here we're now seeing quite a big U-turn, a big shift in the policy towards Russia. So there could be some disappointment from
Well, let's see how Russia reacts to the deal. Professor Millard, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us. As always, we appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.